Breaking news. The cryptocurrency markets are pretty much the same. But we have to talk about Vitalik.
Vitalik tweeting. Vitalik
is tres.
No. Happy. No. Clapping. Vitalik is no. Tres. Vitalik no. Clapping, 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 clapping.
Can Ethereum keep up with the demands of the cryptocurrency markets? But before we get into, all of that, let's talk about Neo.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
There is no spoon?
Although the spoon does not exist, the fork does. What the fork is going on with Neo? I'm sure you might have heard that Neo has accidentally forked over the last few hours. We're gonna explain exactly what happened and how it's being resolved. Next, we have one of the most breaking, revelatory, and earth-shattering pieces of news that we've heard in a long time. That's right, XRP is actually gonna be used by someone. VeChain's price also exploded following the news that it will be tracking the authenticity of vaccines in China. Huge stuff. As head crypto news person of the most exciting crypto newsiest news station on YouTube, I welcome you to another exciting news episode. Let us begin. Let's dive in here on CoinMarketCap. We see that we're down a little bit on Bitcoin. We're up right now above the $200 billion mark. Just clinging on. The question is, can we trust this? Is this really a bounce back? We saw Ethereum have a nice bounce yesterday, but again, we're down already. Ethereum's really been driving a lot of the conversation here. We're gonna start off our market analysis with Ethereum. Ethereum has been dropping rapidly over the last few days. We analyzed whether it was in a cycle of capitulation a couple days ago. Obviously, we saw a nice bounce, a nice hammer candle that would indicate some sort of a price recovery, but I don't know how genuine this is because this wasn't day over day price recovery. This was just one single bounce, and we've already retraced a little bit from there. So with Ethereum, I'm just going to be extremely cautious because there are so many ICOs that raised in ETH, and although some of them might have been dumping, other ones might have not been dumping, this sort of belief that Ethereum might continue to go down in value going to contribute to a lot of businesses having some kind of weariness to hold on to it. Personally, if I was in the position of holding a bunch of ETH that I got from an ICO, I would be in a tough position deciding whether or not it was time to dump away and really protect the dream, the vision for the ICO. It's a hard decision to make. Obviously, if you raised your ICO when Ethereum was between $1,200 and $1,500, you're going to be down a whole lot of money right now. So seeing it here sort of around the 290 mark, I'd say it looks pretty weak right now. There's not a lot of volume. So what we're going to see here is potentially another bit of decline for Ethereum. As I've been saying a lot, I'm expecting things to go a little bit lower. I'm not panic selling. I'm not panic buying. I don't think that the dip is going to just sort of reach bottom and then spring off the bottom like some kind of trampoline here. I think we're going to have plenty of time near the bottom. Maybe not the exact bottom, but I think we're going to have plenty of time as we start to see that bottom. I think there's going to be a lot of sideways action before we really reverse trend and start really building. So I don't think there's really a rush personally. Of course, I could be wrong, just my opinion. I don't think there's going to be a huge rush to seize on and buy the dip, like we're going to miss it, like it's going to run by us. I think the dip is going to be somewhat of an extended dip, and that this is, as I've been saying, the final shakeout. So personally, I'm prepared for the alts to get super drained as Bitcoin continues to fall a little bit more. Looking at CoinMarketCap, we can see, of the top 10 coins, most of them are in the red. We do see a little bit of positive growth here as VeChain is really pumping almost 30%. And that's of course because they just released some really positive news, but they would also taken a significant hit here down to about what was $1 VeChain, what now is about a penny for VeChain, because they went to a 100-to-1 exchange ratio when they went and exchanged to VeChain Thor. At any rate, their news of being a tracking solution for some vaccines in China could be huge, could be another huge application of their technology. That's probably some good news contributing to it, though it's always hard to say what exactly drives these pumps as news has been less and less relevant to the pumps of late. But that's all the real news out of the market. Everything's about the same as it was. To be honest, not too much excitement, pretty boring, and again, Personally, I'm just going to be waiting till we start to see things go really sideways. We're seeing so much volatility still. I don't think we've reached the bottom. I think we're still seeing the bulls and the bears fight. And I still think one big last shakeout is coming. And that shakeout could be driven by Ethereum, more dumping from ICOs, more fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's hard to say, but I don't think we've reached the bottom yet. I think there's still that last little glimmer of hope. There is a lot of fear, but I think people are going to get even more scared as we really approach this bottom. And then we'll start seeing a lot of sideways once we hit that bottom. Now again, let's talk about what could be going on with Ethereum, because Vitalik just came out with what he's even describing as a tweet storm explaining what's going on with CASPER, which is Ethereum's proof of stake mechanism, and apparently he's going to try to put in elements of sharding into that, though CASPER's primary purpose is to implement proof of stake in the Ethereum protocol, move them away from a pure proof of work protocol and allowing for faster transactions, so eventually more scalability. This is a very short, and by very short I'm being sarcastic, 75-part tweet storm. The long and the short of this is, I'll scroll all the way down so you can see it. He essentially runs through every single type of proof of stake that he's tried to implement, all the different consensus mechanisms that he's tried, the different ways that he's tried to approach the concept of malicious attacks, how to prevent them, essentially making it as difficult and expensive as possible to produce blocks that are malicious and essentially corrupt the system. 75, which is the end of this tweet storm, he says, what's left now? On the FFG side, formal proofs, refinement to the specification, and ongoing progress on implementation already started by no less than 3 teams, with an eye to safe and speedy development. On the CBC side, much of the same, onward and upward. The essence of what he's saying is, we're still working on it, but of course, I don't see how this could be too drastically different than what he said just a month ago when he was on TechCrunch Disrupt stage. On that interview just a month ago, it seemed like CASPER was coming in 2019, and then further sharding developments were coming in 2020 and 2021. So it could be up to 3 years before we really see the implementation of scaling on Ethereum. And I get it that he's under a lot of pressure. He's been taking kind of wild interviews, which we'll go into in a second, but I do feel like this is more of a reaction to the pressure on Ethereum and the price of Ethereum than it is actually having to do with their progress. He's just sort of trying to be a little bit more transparent about how they've been going through it, what they've been working on. And to me, this tweet storm just makes him seem a lot more nervous. In fact, it makes me a little bit nervous for Ethereum, and it makes me wonder what the future of this, especially price-wise, is going to be. As an investor, I'm not very deep in Ethereum right now. I've very much so hedged out of Ethereum. I have obviously some ETH, but I'm not going hard on ETH right now. I think there's just a lot up in the air. And I think for a lot of people to think that this drop of Ethereum is over, I think that that's a bit naive and a bit optimistic. I think that there's quite a bit more bloodshed ahead, especially for Ethereum. And then furthermore, I wanted to talk about this interview that Vitalik just did, where he said, I want to be able to walk into a convenience store, get a card, and pay a small fee to start using Bitcoin Cash. I don't know if he was just throwing that out there as an example, but he seems to endorse Bitcoin Cash here. This is funny, the article said, having said this, however, it's still possible that Buterin has been replaced by a robot created by Roger Ver, although there has been no way to confirm or deny these rumors yet. I really didn't like when this statement circulated the internet saying that, oh, the real focus should be on walking into a convenience store and buying a little crypto card, and that's the way to really accelerate adoption of cryptocurrency. I personally disagree. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's how you accelerate adoption. I think having crypto credit cards where you can spend your cryptocurrency anywhere is a good way to facilitate adoption. I think having more utility and use cases for cryptocurrency, in addition to spending it everywhere, like different innovative blockchain solutions for real world problems, I think that's a good way to speed up adoption. I think using crypto to sort of disrupt the incentive model you see with Brave browser and like something we've proposed with this new social media DApp for Tron. I like those concepts because there are ways that cryptocurrency can just work with what you're doing already in your daily life. But I think that treating this like some kind of crypto calling card or a crypto scratcher, as I've referred to it, is not that disruptive. It's not that innovative. It's actually quite old school minded, and I don't think that this is going to solve anything. This all just makes me a bit nervous for the future of Ethereum. Right now, Vitalik is under a ton of pressure, and this tweet storm didn't really alleviate that pressure. It just showed how they've really been working on this problem for years now, and they're still years away from it. And I think that if Ethereum falls significantly more, it's going to cause a chain reaction of a lot of other ICOs dumping, because they don't have the luxury of holding on to these cryptos and seeing them go to zero. That would mean that their entire company companies disappear, and no founder, no CEO can make that decision, especially if you have employees, you have promises, you have investors, you have people that you've made your promises to. So all of a sudden, it's your butt on the line. Now, let's talk about NEO. That's right, just a few hours ago, the NEO blockchain suffered an accidental hard fork. Now, explained in this Reddit post is the concept that NEO is unforkable, but due to a known issue in the state mechanism, replication algorithm, delegated Byzantine fault tolerance, which is a popular consensus mechanism in modern blockchains. Essentially, it allowed for the production of 2 blocks at the same block height, meaning that this wasn't a fork like they're trying to change the underlying protocol like Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. Essentially, this was 2 blocks being produced at the same time at the same block height due to essentially a known issue. Now, in other blockchains, this would work so that 50% of the blocks would go on one fork, 50% would go on the other. But on NEO's blockchain, this works so that everything halts until they can figure it out. So this brings us back to the issue here that this is a rare case. And apparently to fix it, they have to sort of upgrade their protocol in general, which is both good and bad, right? You can look at this as weaknesses within NEO, and some of the community are saying, oh, this is so good because now we get NEO fixed earlier. Cool, I guess, but I would say that it also brings up issues. And we have great news out of the XRP camp that BITTREX, and Coins.ph are going to be using XRapid and the XRP token for their transactions on their exchange. This is very good. It also fits into the larger vision for Ripple, essentially to have the XRP token be a facilitator between different tokens. So having XRP being used for its exchange functionality sort of as a base token, the way, most people use Bitcoin and Ethereum, that makes a lot of sense because that way it will be very easy for XRP to be exchanged between different types of tokens. And, much like we've covered with international remittances, it's all about having XRP sort of be this ability to morph between all different types of currencies. So seeing it used on exchanges is good for usage. It's also good for their larger vision of having it be just an international payment solution or just a currency to currency solution, a sort of transfer mechanism. So hopefully this leads to more adoption of XRP. I know that I've been a little harsh on Ripple of late because they haven't been putting out XRP related news. And I like this news because it's XRP related. It's going to create more usage of the XRP token, which is what I invested in and what I want to see being used. So whenever I see stories like this, no shade, no hate, all love. We also got word that VeChain is going to be tracking vaccines throughout China, or at least they've developed a solution for it. This comes on the heels of a crisis that erupted in July of last year when hundreds of thousands of children received faulty vaccines manufactured by a Chinese drug company. Supposedly with VeChain's solution, VeChain will use highly sensitive IoT devices to record data during the vaccine production process and then store that data on the VeChain Thor, VeChain's enterprise blockchain system. There is no sign that the Chinese government has officially endorsed VeChain's blockchain platform for helping prevent future vaccine safety issues, or that any government agencies are collaborating with VeChain in developing the platform. The information is available from VeChain. Instead suggests that the company is developing the solution independently from Chinese authorities. We do know that VeChain, though, has a history of partnerships with the Chinese government, which means they have access. And of course, if they provide a leading solution, then it would kind of be logical that they would get at least the opportunity to deploy that solution in tracking these vaccines, especially if they've had this huge crisis of late. We also know that there was the crisis with fake milk. VeChain is, of course, trying to solve that, as well as many other different sort of provenance and tracking mechanisms throughout the supply chain. Big fan of VeChain. I'm happy that they're surging today. This might explain their surge. Of course, of late, news hasn't been that corollary with pumps and dumps, so there's no way to be 100% sure, but I do know that VeChain is an exciting project and that this is a truly exciting revelation. We also got word that AT&T is responsible for allowing someone to get crypto jacked for more than $20 million. And now that person is suing AT&T for a total of $224 million for subsequent damages. It's a very interesting case. I think nobody likes AT&T, whether you're a customer or not. To be honest, I hope this guy wins this case. I hope AT&T has to pay out, because we all know that $20 million in crypto today is easily worth $224 million in crypto in a few years. So losing that much money and losing that much investment in cryptocurrency, that's just, we all know that that's going to go up in the future. So AT&T, you better pay out on this one, and I hope this guy wins. And we got word that Coinbase has released its Toshi wallet as Coinbase Wallet. It's a very exciting project and it's built on Ethereum. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but it's just more exciting revelations from Coinbase. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, even though there's not too much going on with the market. Personally believe there's more blood ahead, so I wouldn't go in and hop on any of these prices just yet, but I personally am expecting more dumping, so I'm waiting for that to personally buy. Of course, not financial advice, just my opinion. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell notification so that way you're made aware whenever we put out new content. I'm Elio Trades, you're watching FUD TV, and I'll see you very, very soon on the next episode.